Welcome back. I have now chopped the cabbage. You'll see the pieces are about this big. I'll tip this here. And that medium cabbage I showed you before has been chopped into not tiny. You don't want to almost mince the cabbage. You don't want to do that, but you want pieces that are about an inch or two long. And you need to core it as well. So core it and toss the core and then chop it. And before I go any further, I want to correct one mistake that I made in the earlier portion of this video. I had mentioned that Captain Cook on his second voyage around the world had taken 27 barrels of sauerkraut with him. In actuality, he took 60 barrels of sauerkraut with him, and his voyage lasted 27 months. So on the 27th month of his voyage, he opened his last barrel of sauerkraut, and that's what I meant to say. So, and the sauerkraut, of course, kept them well and free from scurvy the whole very long, over 2-year voyage around the world. So that's pretty amazing testament, with no refrigeration, of course. So let's move on and show you how this type of sauerkraut is made. So now that we've got the cabbage chopped in a bowl, you're going to take your 1 tablespoon of sea salt, and I'm using Celtic salt because of the 80+ numbers of minerals in it. If you don't know about the benefits of real sea salt, I have a video on that as well on the blog, so make sure you take a look at that video. I'm going to sprinkle this sea salt around in the bowl. Then I'm also going to take my 1 tablespoon of caraway seeds and sprinkle that around in the bowl. And then I'm going to take my 4 tablespoons of liquid whey. And if you don't know how to make liquid whey yourself in your kitchen, you cannot buy this from the store. I have a video on this, on how to make this, and I did this last week. So that would be in the archives under the May videos, May 2010 videos. You take your 4 tablespoons of liquid whey, and you pour that into the bowl. Now my next step is going to take about 10 minutes, so I'm going to show you just for a few seconds what I'm going to be doing for the next 10 minutes. Then we'll pick up at the end when I'm finished. But I'm actually going to pound this. I'm going to take some sort of a pounder, and you're actually going to pound the juices out of this cabbage. And for 1 medium cabbage, it takes about 10 minutes. So you don't want to pound too hard. Note, this is a glass bowl, so I don't want to crack it or break it. But I'm going to pound enough to mush down this cabbage and get the juices mixing with the caraway seeds, the salt, and the whey. And I'll show you what that looks like in about 10 minutes when I'm finished. The cabbage has now been pounded, and a couple things I want to point out about it. First of all, you'll notice I switched from a glass bowl to a stainless steel bowl. I have not made sauerkraut in a while because I've been buying kimchi, locally made kimchi, and we've gotten a little bit addicted to it in our house. So I haven't made sauerkraut myself recently, and I forgot that the pounding really is a lot of pounding. I was afraid I was going to break my glass bowl. So you'll notice I switched to a stainless steel bowl. Oh, you'll notice I've got little splatters all over my shirt. I'm not usually dressed up making a video when I'm cooking in my kitchen. So I have a nice shirt on here, and it's a little bit splattered with cabbage juice. So make sure when you do this that you wear an apron or you wear a work shirt. Don't do it in your Sunday best, or you're going to get splattered with cabbage juice. So with that, we got the cabbage mashed down, even despite those 2 mishaps. So here we go. We've got it all mashed down, and you'll notice it takes up a lot less space now that I've mashed the air out of it and it's all smashed. So now the next step will be to transfer this cabbage into our mason jar. So make sure your hands are nice and clean. You're going to need to use your fingers somewhat here. And you're going to fill this up, and it is going to make a little bit of a mess on the counter, but don't worry about it. Just do the best you can. And you remember I said this was going to make about 1 quart. And you're saying, well, your jar's already filled up. Well, you got to mash it down. So here we go. Using our pounder again. Mash that down. You want to really mash it in well. You want as little air in there as possible. And the reason is because air actually inhibits the fermentation of the cabbage. The bacteria, the lactic acid bacteria that make the sauerkraut are anaerobic. That means they work without the presence of oxygen. So the presence of oxygen actually inhibits their growth. So you want to mash out that air as much as possible and really mash it down. It takes a little bit of strength to do this, but keep mashing it down. We're almost done here. Anything that's spills out on the counter, don't put it in the jar. Just discard it later. So we're all done. Put everything in the jar. I'm going to mash it down one more time. See, we actually have quite a bit of room here. We have a good inch. What you want to do is, you don't want to fill it any further than where the neck of the mason jar starts. So the most full I would want this to be is about to there. But we're not going to quite reach there today. And every cabbage will be different. Every time you make this, it'll be a little bit different. Sometimes if you get a little bit bigger cabbage, you'll spill over into another small mason jar. Or maybe you want to make bigger batches and make, 4 or 5 mason jars at a time. It's really up to you. And once you have that all mashed down, you're going to very tightly seal on a lid of the mason jar, and you're going to leave this sauerkraut on the counter for 2 to 4 days. And our house is about 72, 75 degrees right now. We're into June, we're into the warm season here in Florida. So I'm going to leave that probably 3 days. And you'll notice over time it's going to change color. The greenness is going to disappear, and it's going to take on more of a color of the sauerkraut that you're familiar with, more of a yellowish color. So leave it on there for about 3 days. You can leave it 4 days if you want. I wouldn't leave it any more than 4. And then put it in the refrigerator. And the sauerkraut would be considered fully ripened after 6 months in the refrigerator. So you can also put it in a cold cellar. As long as it's around 40 degrees or so, you don't have to refrigerate it. If you're watching this, you're up north and you have a nice cool cellar, that's another place you can put it. And that's actually what traditional peoples did. They didn't have refrigeration, so they stored it in a cool cellar type of an environment. So do that, and it will last and last for many months, and you'll find the flavor improves over time, which may make you want to make large batches at a time. And I hope you've enjoyed this video. It's certainly been fun for me to make. I will make mango chutney for our next video, because mango chutney was only 1 vote behind sauerkraut in our latest poll on what you wanted me to show you in my cooking videos. So we'll do mango chutney next week because it was so close. And this is Sarah, the Healthy Home Economist of thehealthyhomeeconomist.com, wishing you all the best in the kitchen.